The former president of the United States is a free man. He can go anywhere he chooses. And today he chose to attend his civil fraud trial in New York City.
This is weaponization of justice. This is something that nobody's ever seen to this extent. It's called election interference. It's a sad day for our country that a thing like this can take place. I'm sitting in a courthouse instead of being in Iowa, where I should be.
Again, no one compelled Mr. Trump to be in that courthouse today. He could have gone to Iowa. I mean, he has a private plane. He could have gone to both Iowa and New York if he had wanted. But Donald Trump came to New York because he likes to use his trials as soapboxes for his presidential campaign. And the biggest one of all, the biggest soapbox of them all, is the federal trial over alleged 2020 election subversion, which is set to take place in March of next year, right as campaign season is in full swing. And that would set up a dynamic, a split screen, if you will, that no one in this country has ever seen before. The New York Times today reports that Trump's D.C. trial would almost certainly fuse Trump's role as a criminal defendant with his role as a presidential candidate. It would transform the steps of the federal courthouse into a site for daily impromptu campaign rallies, and it would place the legal case and the race for the White House on a direct collision course, each one increasingly capable of shaping the other. That's sort of what we saw today here in New York City, the beta test of that dynamic. But there is a very live question right now as to whether that case even goes to trial before the 2024 election. Because while Donald Trump may enjoy the spectacle of a campaign rally on the courthouse steps, he is very much still doing everything in his power to avoid becoming a convicted criminal. And today, Trump's lawyers made a significant attempt to delay his D.C. federal trial, a move that may very well end up succeeding. As we have been covering on this show in recent days, Trump has been trying to get this case thrown out on the grounds that he is immune from prosecution for anything he did as president. In Trump's mind, the presidency is a shield against nearly everything. But the judge here, Judge Tanya Chutkan, rejected that argument last week in a forceful ruling. She wrote, defendant's 4-year service as commander-in-chief did not bestow on him the divine right of kings to evade criminal accountability that governs his fellow citizens. But today, Trump is appealing that ruling, saying he wants a higher court to weigh in on that same question. And importantly, he is asking Judge Chutkan to freeze all further proceedings in this case until that issue is resolved. Now, last night we told you about these jury selection forms that have already gone out in the mail to potential jurors in Washington, D.C. But if Trump succeeds in pausing this case, there will be no jury selection in the near future. No jury selection, no pretrial motions, no disclosures about trial strategies, all of that machinery, all that very necessary and time-consuming preparation would come to a grinding halt, which would inevitably have the effect of delaying the trial itself. But Trump may also have another goal in mind. Trump could try to appeal his presidential immunity defense all the way to the Supreme Court, where he presumably hopes that the conservative majority, a third of whom were appointed by Donald Trump himself, that they would rule in his favor. What the Supreme Court would actually do here is anyone's guess. If they rule in Trump's favor, then the case is over, kaput. But if they rule against Trump, then Judge Chutkan would have a choice to make. Getting the high court to issue a ruling would likely delay this case for weeks or even months. And so then Judge Chutkan would have to decide whether to hold the proceeding during the heart of campaign season. Such a move would no doubt prompt furious outbursts from Mr. Trump, who would be obligated to be in courtroom every day and not campaigning. So that tantrum/pep rally you saw today, the outbursts we have all seen for weeks outside Mr. Trump's fraud trial in New York, those would become a daily occurrence in the middle of an election. Or Judge Chutkan could forgo that entirely. She could defer to the political calendar and decide it was too fraught to put a candidate on trial with the election looming.